What's up, YouTube? This is me, Asian Dave, aka Fanatical for Jesus, aka Dawei, aka David Chu. I'm just coming to you real quick. I want to talk about a little something. that is that it's like an ongoing debate within Christian circles. I want to talk about the topics of legalism and antinomianism. Now, for those of you that's never heard of these two terms, legalism is pretty much um working like your good works contributing towards salvation. So so pretty much it's like a list of do's and don'ts that you have to follow in order to merit salvation. And antinomianism is pretty much using God's grace as a license to live in sin. So both these heresies are equally wrong, and both these heresies need to be adamantly exposed and refuted. Thing is, with legalism, it burdens the believer and makes them think that they're not good enough for salvation because they aren't accomplishing this list of do's and don'ts. And this is exactly what Paul adamantly argued against this type of legalism. Paul repeatedly said, "We are saved by grace through faith, apart from works. We are saved. We are saved by grace through faith in Jesus Christ alone, apart from works. Our works don't contribute to our salvation, and there's absolutely nothing we can do on this earth to merit salvation. It is solely by grace alone." Now, the flip side of this is antinomianism that says, okay, fine, we're saved by grace, and there's nothing we can do to merit salvation. So why not let's live in sin? And because um, God's grace is magnified when we sin, right? This is Paul anticipated that question, and that's why he said by no means, because how can we live as slaves to sin when when we've been freed from sin? So the flip side is with antinomianism. I mean, James even contradicts this in the book of James when he said, faith without works is dead, and he wasn't talking about salvation in that context. He was talking about if someone who's truly has faith in Christ Jesus, their life will produce a life of good works. But like Martin Luther said, God doesn't need your good works, your neighbor does. So if you're truly saved by grace and you've been given a new nature by God, God has taken out the heart of stone and given you a heart of flesh, then you'll be given new desires, and you would want to live for God, and you would desire to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and then you'll also desire to love your neighbor as yourself. Now, none of us fully accomplishes this task while we're on this earth because we're sinful human beings. So none of us actually fully accomplishes the task of loving our God the way we're supposed to, and none of us loves our neighbor exactly the way we're supposed to. We all fall short of the glory of God. So, but at least instead of just giving up and living a life of sin, if we're truly saved, we desire to live a life of good works, not for salvation, but because we are saved. So we don't live a life of good works to try and merit salvation. We live a life of good works because we have been saved by grace through faith alone in Christ Jesus. And so there's the difference. So there's the difference between legalism and antinomianism, and both heresies need to be refuted within the Christian church. Churches that are legalistic need to be exposed for what they are. I mean, legalism, all it does is just wear down the believer, and a lot of times makes them walk away from the faith because they just get so bogged down by the legalistic rules, the legalistic do's and don'ts that they have to follow, and they get tired of it and then just walk away. And then So that legalism needs to be exposed as false teaching, and antinomianism equally needs to be exposed as false teaching because like Paul said, if you've been freed from the bondage of sin and death, why would you go on living as if you were still slaves to sin? Anyway, so that's all I had to say for now. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and as always, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Alright, have a good day, God bless you, and stay awesome, Gotham. Deuces.